Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you happen to watch my first video, which was my first ever video, this one is going to be very similar. And thank you for watching that video. It means a lot to me. Some of you even liked it, some of you commented, and I really appreciate it. It was really cool to see that some of you agree with me when we touched base on the influencers taking deals with brands that they don't actually really like just for the dollar. And we're going to kind of piggyback off of that topic a little bit, but talk about something that I don't know if people really realize. Okay, so when it comes to at least TikTok, it's very evident that people know they have the power to take away someone's platform, okay? And a lot of times it makes sense that the platform is taken away because some really sketchy stuff can go on, some worse than others, but it makes sense that, you know, the community came together and had this person stopped where they were at. But I feel like we don't realize as the viewer is that we hold the power to give the person the platform to begin with, okay? So I know sometimes people switch up and you can't really tell that they've switched up until it's already a little too far gone. And I get that, I understand that. But this is why it's so important to sit with a personality on the internet, if you will, whether they're an influencer, whether they're a content creator, or making a video like this where we're kind of just sitting and chatting, and it's about as casual as it could possibly get when it comes to creating content, right? And I think it's important when you first come across a channel, including this one, to sit with it. Now, maybe you're a really great judge of character, and you know right off the bat if the person is kind of, a good follow or not for you, but I still encourage you to sit and wait. There are, maybe this is bad on my part, there are creators who I've watched for a while and I have not subscribed, okay? I simply will watch the video and I still sit with it because sometimes they're a little inconsistent with what they say. And I'm a big advocate for language. I think language is very important and how we say something and how we present information, even if it's simply an idea or an opinion, kind of like this. I think it's important how we present that to someone else because it's important how it's received, right? We talked about this before, like someone receiving something in at least a positive manner that helps them feel empowered to think critically the next time they, move on to a different video, or the next time they watch the same person. Like, I'm encouraging you to think critically about what you're consuming online, okay? And it's just, so back to subject, it's like, why do we not realize how much power we have as the follower from the beginning? We give platforms to some just not great personalities on the internet, and I feel like this is how everyone ends up being the same. And I know there's a larger picture here, if you will, with brands and brands only wanting a certain aesthetic or wanting a certain type of personality. And so a lot of times, some, influencers or creators, even ones that we love, will pivot themselves and the content that they produce to match that brand's expectations. And I get it. In a way, I get it. It also really sucks. A part of me wishes that people would kind of stand their ground more, because then I feel like the brand would kind of have to cater to, the creator more. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they wouldn't. Maybe they would just move on to the next person, But we don't know until we try. And so because we can't necessarily rely on creators and influencers not to totally change their morals or their values because of the money they may or may not make, I think it's really important to remember that you hold the power from the beginning. You can either give them a platform that they will either use for really great things or maybe just not so great things. Or maybe they just use it to produce the same old, generic content that is everywhere online. And there's nothing like innately wrong with that as far as the generic content goes. But I encourage you to make sure that you really, really love and enjoy a creator before you follow them, because it's so important. It is so important. this, like I said in the beginning, you know, when you watch a video, when you give the like or the comment or the follow, it does something so much bigger than us. Like, it pushes that content out to so many other, you know, so many other people. And that's such a big deal. And I know it might not seem like a big deal to the average person. Like, they're like, what, you know, I just liked their morning routine. What's the big deal? And I get it, but it is a big deal when we find out, you know, years later that this person kind of, you know, isn't very nice. And it's starting to bother us, right? And this is what I mean by it's just important to sit with it, because the longer it takes for their platform to build, and I'm not wishing like nobody's platform, you know, builds or that they don't gain followers. It's not what I'm talking about. Okay, like, if you get what I'm saying, you get what I'm saying. But what I encourage you to do is just sit with it for a little while, you know, sit with it and see how their language is consistent, or maybe it's inconsistent, you know, see if what they claim they value matches with the sponsorships that they take. Okay, so like, I can think of a creator right now who, you know, she really values like having non-toxic stuff in her home and having cleaner products, but then, you know, however a while back had like a Temu sponsorship, and it's like, okay, like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, this is not, you're doing a little like, that's kind of sketchy, you know, interesting behavior. And to me, you may or may not have took that sponsorship for the dollar. And that makes me want to kind of, you know, wait to give you my total full support. And I feel like that's okay. I feel like it's okay to allow people to show you if they truly value what you might value, because that's why we follow people in the beginning, right? Is because we can hopefully relate to them in some way, or their content is inspiring enough to keep you coming back. Okay, like, this is, at least for me, this is why I follow anyone or listen to anyone on the internet, is because they inspire me with what they're saying, with what they're doing, or I genuinely just enjoy their content. You know, it's entertaining, maybe it makes you laugh or something. Like, it doesn't always have to be serious, right? But I do think it's important to sit with the creator. Seriously, like, you know, kind of literally and figuratively at the same time. Like, sit with them, even including me. Like, sit with this video, listen to what I have to say, and you don't have to act on it. Okay, like, you don't have to. And either the creator will continue to stay consistent with what they believe, or they won't, and they'll show you that over time. You just have to kind of, you know, come in with a more critical perspective, not in a mean way, like, we're not criticizing them for no reason, but in a way that's, I'm gonna make sure that I'm giving my support to someone who is a more genuine personality, at least as genuine as you can be on the internet, because at the end of the day, we're all just a little different when we step in front of a camera, whether that's to take a photo or a video, even if it's just for your family and friends, right? You know, we're hopefully on our best behavior. But yeah, I wanted to come on here and kind of piggyback off of that original concept of how, like, it feels just so shady to take a sponsorship with someone when you don't truly love it, and you only ever see the sponsorship from that brand when it's a sponsored video. Like, you don't ever see the product being utilized or placed any other time throughout their content. And this is, you know, being a critical viewer. Like, you're not just watching it for fun necessarily, even though that's what this was supposed to be, right? Like, we're just watching this for fun. But with how stuff is and with how people are, you kind of just have to be a little more cautious and a little more critical with what you see on the internet, okay? Half the stuff is fake. Some of it's AI now. Like, it's getting really weird. It's getting really strange out there. And so more than ever, I encourage you to really acknowledge the power that you have, because chances are, if you're watching this video, I like to believe that you're a really smart person. You know what you're doing, okay? Like, I don't, like, you clicked on it because you want to hear a different perspective. You want to hear what a random, you know, person on the floor in the corner of the room is saying, okay? And it's just important that we acknowledge the power that we have in the beginning, in hopes that we are giving less platforms to people who shouldn't really ever have them in the first place, okay? And I hope this is coming off as it's supposed to. Like, in no way do I want people to not ever have a growing platform. I don't think all influencers are bad. I don't think all content creators are bad. Like, obviously, that's not what I believe. But I do believe it's so important to understand that you have more power than you think you do, okay? Some, you know, we've seen this in the past. Some people will come out and act like their followers mean nothing to them and that they don't really care about them. And I think that's really wrong, because without them, you wouldn't be where you are, right? Like, speaking for the creator here, or like speaking about the creator, they wouldn't be where they are without the follower and without the people who support their platform. And that's why I believe it's so important to really pay attention to who you're following, okay? Like, if it doesn't sit well with you, trust that it doesn't sit well with you. Or if you're kind of like, I don't know, you know, like, I think I like their content, but I'm not sure, sit with it for a while. Like, seriously, guys, I'm telling you, like, I have sat with content for a long time. For a long time, honestly, there are people that I should go ahead and subscribe to because I truly enjoy their videos overall. Their, you know, their actions and their words match the morals that they claim to have and the values that they claim to have. And I think this stuff is really important, and I encourage you to do so, because if not, we'll just keep giving platforms to not that great of people just because they, you know, maybe they look nice or maybe they have a really nice home. And obviously, like, this stuff is aesthetic and desirable, and I know some people use social media as just a form of escapism. But even then, I encourage you to understand the power that you have, okay? Because it's really, really important that we recognize this in the beginning rather than regretting ever giving someone a platform in the first place, okay? Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.